What's poppin' YouTube? Today I'll be sharing my exact Facebook ad strategy that will work for any budget. This will show you exactly how to start from nothing to scaling to multiple 5 figures each day on autopilot. So let's dive right into the basics to understand how Facebook ads work, and then we'll get right into me showing you step by step how I structure and set up my Facebook ad campaigns. If you guys are new here, please drop a like down below and hit the subscribe button as I post weekly content every single Monday, so don't miss out on that. And yeah, let's get into the video. So I'll be super quick and simple with this, but just for you guys to understand how Facebook ads work. So essentially there's a pixel, and this pixel gets installed on your site, and it'll gather tons of data on your customers that are coming, and over time it'll do a better and better job of bringing the right customers to your website that will convert into sales. Now, on top of this, the whole structure of Facebook starts with a campaign. So inside of your campaign, you'll have one ad set or multiple ad sets. And at the ad set level, you adjust things like the targeting, the budget, the placements, and then within each ad set, you'll have multiple ads. And the ads are the creatives themselves and the text that go with the creatives. So the only requirements that you guys will be needing to go ahead and get started with running Facebook ads is a Facebook Business Manager. Within the Facebook Business Manager, that's where you can go and set up your ad account and then start running your campaigns from there. You can also install pixels within your Business Manager, and then again, that's how you track customer data and customer behavior of people who are coming on your website. Next, you'll be needing a Facebook page. So the Facebook page is essentially what you connect to your ad account, and that gets shown across the ads that you're running on Facebook as well as Instagram, because remember, Facebook owns Instagram, so your ads will also be seen on the Instagram platform. And finally, of course, you'll need a product to promote, a product, a brand, a website, or multiple products. But of course, you wouldn't want to run Facebook ads if you were not promoting a product or service. And the product that I decided to go with for this video was an ergonomic footrest pillow. So I found this product on Ecom, which is another website that I use for product research quite frequently. And yeah, it seemed like a great product to me to use. And Ecom provided me with a description that you can use right away in your ad copy. Provides you with, typical selling price, net profit margin, and it'll also show you other stores that are selling this product. So yeah, just guess on a side note here, Ecom's an excellent resource when getting started out to go ahead and pick a product. They have tons of different products listed on here daily, and you can pick one and immediately start running ads because they give you all of the information you need, and they even give you video creatives, they even give you pictures, they give you the targeting, they give you absolutely everything. So I'll leave these guys linked down below if you want to check them out. I have a pro membership with them, and I use them frequently to look on new products, spy on competitors, all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's Ecom. Okay, now once you've made it inside of your ad account, you should be at a page that looks somewhat like this, and then you're just going to want to go and hit the green button over here that says Create. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to select Conversion Campaign. This is going to ensure that we're looking for people who are going to take an action on our website, like checking out or making a purchase. And then you can just hit this little drop down here and name your campaign something along the lines of Test CBO. We'll say $100 for this campaign. And then in terms of the ad set, I usually name the ad set whatever interest we're running as the targeting within it. So for example, for this one, we'll just say posture. And then ad, we'll just call this one. Hit continue. And now we're inside of editing our first campaign. So the reason why I said $100 for this is I just took a rough estimate. But typically what you want to do is you want to take the selling price of your product, multiply that by 15 to get the total ad budget for testing purposes. So if you exceed that budget and you're getting terrible results, then I would highly recommend doing away with the product even after you've tested and optimized and everything. But yeah, that's sort of the ad budget. And then in order to get the daily budget, I would divide the total ad budget by 7. But anyways, that is why I named it that. And then moving forward here, I always use a CBO at this point in 2020. I just believe that Facebook is really good at knowing how to find the right people. And by leaving a CBO on, essentially what that does is it optimizes the money that you're spending across all the different ad sets. So if Facebook sees that one ad set has more potential or is doing better, then Facebook will go and allocate more of the budget that you're spending each day into that particular ad set. So go ahead and set this at $100 per day, and we can move along here. Now, if we click into our first ad set, we want to make sure everything's good inside of here. So we want to scroll down and hit this button here that says create a pixel. So if you haven't already created a pixel within your ad account, this is super important, and you're basically just going to want to follow these steps outlined below, and it's super easy to get your pixel installed onto your Shopify and integrate it with Facebook. Now, the next step is budget and schedule. So what we want to do here is we want to schedule it for midnight the following day. So for example, if I want to start running ads on Tuesday, I will set it for Tuesday at 12 a.m. And why I do that is just because you don't typically want to run a campaign in the middle of the day, as it'll try to eat through all of your budget and it won't be optimized and spent in the most efficient way in order to be profitable. So that's why you typically want to start your campaigns at midnight. And in terms of these dynamic creatives and offers, again, I don't mess around with these settings too much when starting out, and I just want to keep things really simple and straightforward in the best way possible. Now, if we scroll down here to audience, first thing we want to do is pick out the locations that we're targeting. So for me, a lot of the times I go USA and Canada, but you might be targeting e-packet countries or somewhere else. So for me, I'll just put USA and Canada for here now. And then on the right hand side, you'll see audience definition. So with this, it basically shows you how much potential people you could be reaching with your targeting. So right now in all of the US and Canada, with ages 18 to 65 plus and all genders, we could potentially be reaching over 260 million people. Now, of course, that would be way too broad, and we want to find people that are actually going to convert and buy this product. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is take a look at the age. Will people of all ages buy this product? Now, it is a product, this particular posture pillow is a product that maybe solves foot pain, leg pain, joints, that sort of thing. It's more of a health-related product, and typically a younger demographic doesn't experience the same pains as older demographics do. It's not to say that young people don't have pain, it's just to say that older people are more likely to want to buy this product. So I might come in here and I might go up to maybe 25, 30, but typically you're going to leave it from 18 to 65 plus and just keep Facebook, give full reign to Facebook and leave it as broad as possible. And genders, all genders, unless you're selling a specific male or female product, even if you have a hunch that your product will sell better with men or female, or men or women, I recommend you keep all genders on. And then detailed targeting expansion we'll get to in just a moment. But anyways, languages, I usually just leave all languages. But you can also, edit English as well. So sometimes you want to put that one in there and just add English just to make sure that you're not getting people who don't speak the language of your website whatsoever. But from my experience, most people in the US and Canada do speak English, so that's why I usually just leave it on all. As we continue down here, automatic placements, I always recommend leaving it on that, especially when getting started out, just because, again, you want to give Facebook full control and full reign to go in and pick out the right people for your business. And just moving along here into detailed targeting, we now are going to choose our interest for this ad set. So we said earlier that the ad set's name was posture, and posture relates to the product that we're selling. So generally I just pick a broad term that relates closely with the product I'm selling. So for example, this is some sort of a posture orthopedic pillow. So I'll just type in posture here and poor posture. There we go. That could be a really nice audience. It's got almost 7 million people within that audience. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one. Now, detailed targeting expansion, I'm basically going to turn this off, as this just reaches people beyond the targeting key terms that you put in. So typically you don't want to do that unless your interest has a very low audience to begin with. I'd usually say Anything below a million, 1.5 million, maybe you could turn on or experiment with turning on detailed targeting expansion. But for the term poor posture here, we have a potential reach of 2.2 million people. So I'd say that is relatively broad. It's not super massive, but it's a good audience size in which we do not have to turn on the detailed targeting expansion. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to rename that poor posture, just to keep track of what audiences we're running inside of each ad set. Now, moving along to the ad, essentially what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to select the page that we're working with. So, you come on here and you choose your Facebook page. So for me, it's Posture Pillow, the one that I just created there. And then we have to move down and create our advertisement. Now, I usually go with single image or video. Carousels can work if you're selling, I don't know, let's say you have a legging store and you have many different women's leggings on your website. Then a carousel might work well to display many different pictures inside of that one advertisement. But for me, single image or video with what I'm selling usually works quite well. And scrolling down here, we're just going to go in and add our media. So this is where you're going to add the creatives, the videos, the images that you have built out for the ads. So I'm just going to hit add image here, and I already have 2 set up. So I'm going to go into add 1 and hit that. And now that we have add 1 set up, it'll look something like this. If you look on the right hand side, that's how it'll show up on people's Facebook feeds as well as people's Instagram feeds, and you can scroll through the different placements and how they'll look on the side here. But now I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to rename this ad 1 just so I can keep track of which ad I'm running. Now, primary text, of course, you're going to want to use your marketing skills here and think of clever things to say for the copy in the ad. For me, though, a lot of the times I like to keep it really simple, so I might just say something like Black Friday sale, 70% off, and then, do some sort of an urgency tactic like limited stock or something like that. So we'll just roll with that. And then same thing with the headline. It comes down here. So for this one, I might put something along the lines of free express shipping. But this is where you can get creative with your marketing and try to write compelling copy that will encourage people to make a purchase. And then same with your description. It is optional, so I'm not going to write anything right now, but the description will go below the free express shipping at the bottom there. And then the website URL, you're just going to want to stick in the URL of your website, of course. And then call to action, you're going to want to click on this. And of course, if you're selling, an e-commerce product, then you're going to want to go shop now. And then the display link basically shows a link on your ad that's a bit easier to look at as opposed to the website URL. So for this one, you might do www.posturepillow.com. And then for the website URL, you might actually have the product page linking them directly to the page where they can go and make a purchase on your product as opposed to your homepage. So that's basically it for the ad. And then right away, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to duplicate the ad within the ad set. So go existing campaign, existing ad set, choose that poor posture, and duplicate the ad. So now the reason why I do this is because when I start out, I highly recommend using 2 ad creatives, and that will give you a better idea of what's working and what isn't. So if you come into here, I now have another image, so I can go over here and choose this image, and this is my second ad. So now when I'm looking at data, I can later decide, okay, is this image doing better or is this image doing better? And then further down the line, when I'm scaling, I can cut out the creatives that aren't doing as well. I can introduce new creatives, that sort of thing. But you always want to be testing in Facebook. Facebook ads is a major testing game, and whoever tests the most can typically make the most. So with this, I keep everything else the same just because I don't want to test too many variables at once, and that's really all you need to do. Now, going back to the ad set level, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this. You can hit quickly duplicate, and you're going to be greeted with another ad set. So now within this ad set, we can do a different interest. So let's actually scroll down here to see what the interests are. And you can hit this suggestions button right here to show you similar interests like poor posture. So for example, spinal cord. So, again, spinal cord is another relatively broad audience, 2.2 million people that we could potentially reach in here. And it is very niche down to the product that we're selling. So spinal cord could be another great audience that we could run with this. And really, guys, it's just that simple. I don't overthink my interests or anything. I find just going and picking a broad key term that is directly related to your product works really, really well. And so essentially all you're going to want to do is copy and paste that same process I just did about 4 more times. When I'm testing out my initial campaign, I like to have around 6 ad sets. I feel like that's a pretty sweet spot in terms of data collection and in terms of allowing you to, go back and then later make decisions on cutting or keeping the ad sets involved. Now, I just use photos in the ad creatives for simplicity's sake, but when you're actually testing a product, especially a product that has a unique feature about it or it solves a problem, ideally you'd want to go with a video ad. And that's just because you can really showcase the product more in a video ad, and they tend to end up converting and doing so much better than a picture ad. So for that, I typically use viral ecom ads, and I'll link them down below if you want to check them out. I would highly recommend going on there and just grabbing a split testing package such as this one. You get 4 ad variants for the one product that you're selling, which basically means that you have an ad done differently in 4 different ways. So you basically have 4 different ads to use throughout your entire testing phase, and I would recommend choosing the 2 best out of those ones you get and using that in your initial launch like I showed you guys. And they also give you 4 thumbnails. So, once you've determined which creative you want to use going forward and which one is doing well, then you can begin to test things such as the thumbnails they provide for you as well. So yeah, if you guys want to get some ads, I highly recommend getting video ads, and I also recommend checking out viral ecom ads. I'll link them down below in the description for you. And then once you have all your ad sets organized inside of your campaign like so, then you just want to let your campaign run for 2 to 3 days at the bare minimum. This will allow your campaign lots of time to optimize and gather lots of data in all your ad sets so then later you can make a decision on which ad sets you want to cut out. And here's how we make that decision. So once we're assessing all of the data in front of us, we first want to look at some of the metrics lower down in the funnel. So you can go ahead and pause the video if you want to kind of cater your feed, I guess, or your data points in the same way that I did with all of the different categories. And so basically, to keep things simple, all I'm really looking for here across this part of the funnel is my CTR greater than 2%? And is my CPC less than $1? So if I'm getting people, to view the content, to get a single content view on my product page, if I'm getting that for less than $1, then I see that as a very reasonable point. Obviously, the less the better. But if you're getting substantially over $1, then you might be in a too competitive ad space in order where it'd be way too hard to make money. So that's why I look for CPC less than $1. And then CTR greater than 2% just means that your creative is very engaging, and within that audience, people are responding to it very well, and they're going to click into your ad, or they're going to click onto your Facebook page, or they're going to head over to your website. So now if we're looking at the CTR here, the unique outbound CTR actually, we can see that for this testing phase for a product that I launched, it was very high, like over 4% in one of those ad sets is very, very good. I typically just look for over 2%. Now, if all of your CTR is well below what I'm looking for here, then you probably have an issue with the ad creatives that you're running, and you should, go back to square one and try to figure out a better solution in terms of your video ads, your creatives, or what you're running that catch people in a more engaging way. And if nothing works, and if you can never get your CTR above 2%, it's going to make it very difficult for you to get into the profit zone. And at that point, I would say just, find another product, start another store, that sort of thing. But anyways, these are the 2 metrics that I'm really looking for at this point in the funnel. And then moving along here, later down in the funnel where, we got the purchases and that sort of thing, all I'm really looking for here is I'm looking for a cost per purchase less than my break-even cost per purchase. And your break-even cost per purchase is just your sale price minus your cost of goods. So essentially that means that you're going to be in the profit if you continue running that ad set and if it performs the same way that it has. So as you can see here, the second and third ad set here, it has a cost per purchase of 28 and 18. So I can't remember exactly what my break-even CPP was for this test that I ran, but I know that both of those were under it, and so the second and third ad set, I would continue to scale from here, and I would power off that first one as well as the rest of them that didn't get any sales. So now you kind of get to an interesting point where you can begin to, after these 2-3 days, you can begin to power off the ad sets that don't meet these requirements. And back over here when I was saying that you're also looking for amount spent minimum $20, that basically means that if you look at the amount spent column, you have to make sure that all of the ad sets were accounted for equally, or at least as close to as possible. So as you can see, some of these last ad sets here only spent $12, which means the CBO just didn't really allocate the budget to them much. So I would probably give these ad sets 5 and 6 more of a chance going forward. So to take back what I said earlier, I would continue running the second ad set, the third ad set, and then ad set 5 and 6, just to give them more of a chance and kind of see how they perform. But once you're at this point, you can start making decisions on which ad sets you want to power off, and in turn will provide you a lot more profit going forward. And after you've powered off the ad sets that weren't working for you, and you're continuing to run the ad sets that are working and that are making you money, later down the line, as you start to get even more data and season the pixel even more, then we can get into lookalike audiences and scaling those. Now, after your winning interest audiences have been running for a while and starting to make you some money, you can then transfer over to start testing lookalike audiences. And I recommend doing this as soon as possible, because lookalike audiences is a lot of the times where you can begin to make a lot of profits and things can start really going well and picking up for you. So typically, when I'm doing this, I look for at least 500 to 1,000 events before making the custom audience. And again, just this image here shows that when you open the left side panel on your Facebook Ads Manager, that's how you get to your audience tab. And when you open that audience tab, then you can start creating the audiences. So essentially, you're going to want to have, at least, let's say, 500 purchases before you go and make a lookalike audience around purchases. And this is just so Facebook has enough data on the right customers before you go and start making these audiences. Otherwise, they just won't work as well, and you might as well stick to the interests. But once you have enough data built up, you can begin with something like video views at 75%. And you can usually hit this one pretty quickly with maybe only a couple $100 spent. And that's why I have the custom audiences in order here on the right, because this is typically the order that it goes for me and when I'm testing them. So I'm sure it'll likely be the same for you. So the first lookalike audience that you can test is video view at 75%. And when I'm saying lookalike audiences, I mean you just basically take the custom audiences within that audience tab, and there's an option where you can turn them in to a lookalike audience, which is basically taking all the customers you already have grouped into that event. So everyone who's viewed your video at 75%, and it's expanding that audience to people all over the world, or I guess all over your location where you're targeting them, to match them up with a lot of similar qualities and traits and behaviors as the people who are already viewing your videos for at least 75%. So that's kind of how lookalike audiences work. And essentially, you're going to want to go and create all these custom audiences. And then once you hit that 500 to 1,000 events mark for each one, then you can start to build up the lookalike audiences, and then you can begin testing them. Now, in terms of testing them, I basically recommend just doing the same strategy that I showed you earlier in this video for testing interests. It's basically a rinse and repeat, except instead of interests, you're now setting up a new campaign for each lookalike audience that you're testing, and each of the ad sets will be a different portion within that lookalike audience. So when you're making your lookalike audiences, you have the option to choose a 1%, to choose a 2%, 3%, 4%, or 5%, and that's also what I recommend going with. And when you choose those percentages, that basically is how closely related the people are in the lookalike audience to the original people who took that action or that event on your website. So essentially, that's what you're going to want to do, and you're going to want to plug these audiences in just the same way you plugged the interests into one campaign. Inside that campaign, you'll have 5 or 6 ad sets with all of the different audiences within that lookalike audience. So, once you start testing your video view at 75% campaign, it's the same strategy in order to scale. So you can turn off the ones that aren't doing well and keep the ones on that are doing well. And you go through all of these different custom audiences and lookalike audiences. And once you have enough data built up after that, then things really start to get interesting, when you have thousands and thousands of purchases and tons of data. At this point, you should already be well in the green and making good money if you're continuing to run your campaigns and spending thousands of dollars on collecting all this data. But from this point on, you can get into something called broad targeting. And broad targeting is pretty cool, but it requires, I'd say a minimum of around $15,000 spent on that ad account. And the reason why I say a minimum of $15,000 is because at that point you've spent a lot of money with Facebook on the ad account, and you've gathered a lot of data on the people who are buying your product and the customers. So at this point, you actually don't need any of those lookalike audiences. You don't need anything, because that Facebook pixel has been working so hard in the background for you that entire time, and that pixel is now ready to go out on its own and snipe every single customer who's going to come on your website and buy your product. So all you need to know for broad targeting when you're at this point is that you basically need no targeting. So, except for your location, there really isn't anything to do at the ad set level anymore besides, refreshing the creatives occasionally, because you will start to experience ad fatigue if you're at these levels, and people won't be responding to the ads they're constantly seeing on their feed, once you're spending, potentially up to $5,000, $10,000 a day on ads and that sort of thing. And the cool thing about broad targeting is that it really is an easy and hands-off approach and doesn't require much time looking at data, making hard decisions going into your campaigns, because really all you did was you set up a campaign with an ad set and you put no targeting. So again, this is great for scaling to those 5-figure days, and this broad targeting is kind of the goal with where you want to go with your Facebook ads. And once you reach this point, your company will probably be taking off, and you'll end up being pretty successful with that store in the dropshipping and e-commerce space. So there you guys have it. That was my complete Facebook ads launching and scaling strategy from scratch. And the only thing that I didn't touch on was retargeting. Now, the reason why I didn't touch on this is because I'm probably going to make a whole nother video on it, as it is a really crucial and important piece of advertising. So stay tuned for that. And also, I know that all this information can be really overwhelming, especially if you're just getting started with Facebook ads. So that's why I left it out as well. And I'm trying to keep things as simple and straightforward and easy to follow as possible for you guys. So I really hope you got some value out of that video. If you could go down below and smash that like button, that would be awesome. And also subscribe to my channel, as I post videos every single Monday. So don't miss out on those. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.